Hi everyone, my name is Anthony Bober, and I am in my second semester of tutoring. I am a chemical engineering major, and I am a tutor for calculus, both Calc 1 and Calc 2. Um, in this video, I kind of wanted to go over just a basic derivative problem and kind of the method I would use, which is kind of breaking it up and solving each part individually. So to start out here, the first thing I would do is take a small piece of it, 4x cubed. And I would ask my student if they know how to solve it. Do you know what the derivative of this is? And if they don't, a great place to go would be to their notes. Do you have notes that have derivatives for this in them? If they don't, you could go to the textbook and look through their textbook. And if they still don't, a good thing to do would be to just Google derivative rules. And usually it brings up a chart like this. And I actually like to use this website called Math is Fun, and it kind of gives you this chart here, and it has all the derivatives in it. So we would want to find the derivative that we would use here, the derivative rule, which would be this power rule. X to the n, the derivative is nx to the n minus 1. So go here, x to the n turns into nx to the n minus 1. And we would treat this 4 kind of separate from everything else, x cubed times x cubed. And you would want to help them identify that this x to the n kind of represents this x cubed here. So this would become 4 times, we bring down that 3 x to the 3 minus 1 is 2, which equals 12x squared. So the derivative of this is 12x squared. The next piece we would want to look at is this 2 times sine of x. And we would go back to our chart. If they don't know it, we would find sine of x, which is right here. The derivative of sine of x is cosine of x. So we would treat this as, too kind of the same way we treated this 4 as separate from everything. So we would just do 2 times the derivative of sine of x is just cosine of x. The next piece we would look at is this e to the x right here, and we would go to our chart and we would find e to the x right here. The derivative is e to the x, so it's the same thing, which makes this easy. We just bring this down, e to the x. Our next piece is going to be minus 7x, and we would want to go to our chart and find the derivative that kind of looked like that, and that would be this, a to the x. The derivative is just a. So we would want to write that a to the x, the derivative is just a. And something that I would like to ask my student is, in this case, what represents this a? What number is that a? And you would want to help them kind of understand that, in this case, it is the minus 7. So the derivative is just minus 7. And finally, we have this plus 3, which, when we look here, any constant c, the derivative is just 0. So right here we just have a plus 0, which means that this is our answer. We don't care about that because it's just plus nothing. So the way I kind of went through this problem is I took this big problem, which might be a little bit overwhelming for some students who are new to calculus, don't have much experience with derivatives, and I broke it down into these different pieces, which are a lot easier, and it makes the problem more digestible for the student. And I think the important thing about breaking things down is that if your student comes across another derivative problem like this, they can go through, they can break it down themselves, and they can use the same methods we used to come to their answer. Even if it's a problem they've never done before, never seen before, they can use the same method we used to get to their own answer, which I think is the most important thing that your student leaves your tutoring session with. Um, so just a few things about calculus in general, a few tips that I have would be to first, no matter what problem you're working on in calculus, try and break it up. Because if you can break it up and solve each piece individually, then it makes it a lot easier for your student to use that same method to go back and do it themselves. Another thing would be to ask questions. Ask them questions, kind of like how I did here, asking them like, well, what represents the a in this case? It would be this -7. Because if they are answering questions like that, if they come to their own conclusions like that, it makes it a lot more memorable, and it makes it easier for them to remember when they come across another situation like this. And then finally, a few resources that I like would be YouTube. Just searching something like derivatives, derivative rules. Um, there's many videos out there that can help them. Kind of the same thing with the videos is Khan Academy. There's a lot of videos on Khan Academy that could help. And then finally, this website here called Math is Fun. It has this chart here, and it also has lots of examples, which can be really useful for someone who is learning derivatives. So finally, we're going to be using GoBoard this semester. I actually did this video in Paint to kind of mimic what it would be like working in GoBoard. It can be a little bit challenging for people like me who have never tutored using something like this before. But if it's something you're struggling with, um, that's not something to be worried about, because all of us are still figuring out how exactly we're using GoBoard and what exactly is the best way to tutor using that. So I hope that this video helped, and I hope that it made sense kind of how I broke it down, and I hope that all of you have a great fall semester.